From the Stanford halls to dead center of the bullseye, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden is here, and she's risked everything to speak out.
I mean, I see it every day. I see these people whose lives have been destroyed every day. I've never seen anything like it in my entire career. There's no upside for me to come out and say all this.
This is her story and what she says the medical world doesn't want you to know.
We could be seeing this unlimited production of spike protein. The other concern is that once the spike protein is made, that it can't be broken down because it has something called pseudouridine, which is a sort of a stabilizer. So it's not it's to keep it from being broken down to generate more of a heartier immune response. The problem is we don't have a single study showing that the body's capable of breaking down pseudouridine.
Buckle up.
Keeping it real with Jillian Michaels.
So let's start here with the beginning, Doc. So there's a direct quote from you. The system is rigged against doctors and patients. The patients part, I know. Profitable to keep people sick. We all know it. We got it. Can you elaborate a little bit about the doctor's piece? Is this more on the medical McCarthyism stuff that I've alluded to?
Yeah, I mean, medicine has changed a lot since I started. It's become much more centralized. It's very rare to find an independent doctor. And it was that independence that sort of allowed me to treat COVID patients the way I wanted. But so the vast majority of doctors are employees, and they have a third party influencing how they take care of patients. I call myself third party free. So I worked in a traditional system right after residency for a while. Then I started having children, and I had 4 boys in 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I took time off.
I missed that factoid.
Yeah,
wow, you deserve a badge of honor. Holy cow.
It was hectic, and I wasn't even sure I was going to go back to medicine. But then once I got older and, school routines and everything, I decided to go back. But when I went back, I was like, I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm going to be third party free. So I don't contract with insurance companies. I don't contract with hospitals. I don't contract with the government, which means that I'm cash only, but it's very transparent. You see the prices, you can get reimbursed for the services. But the only people I work for is my patients, and that served me very well during the pandemic. But that also put me under the target because, most doctors, if they started speaking out during the pandemic, they would have gotten fired. Now, they couldn't fire me, but they publicly shamed me, and they turned me in the medical board, and they suspended my privileges. So they did everything they could to silence me.
This is the playbook. I was just having this conversation recently with Bill O'Reilly. So the first is, you're a kook, you're a quack, Kennedy eats dogs. That's my favorite because it's just the most ridiculous. And that was in Newsweek. And when that doesn't work, then they sue you into the ground. Mm-hmm. And when that doesn't work, the alternative is quite scary. Not to be a conspiracy theorist, but, we've seen it come to violence in some cases for people who are influential, moving the needle in directions certain parties may not like. And you've definitely gone through 2 of the 3. God forbid there's a third, which also leads me to believe, where there's smoke, there's fire. I've been a victim of number 1. Just the most insane lies and smears and pejoratives that are ridiculous. And it's unfortunate because people sometimes believe it. But then there's the ones that are smart enough that don't. And that's the great news, like Rogan, for example. It is 11 million person audience. Now, I got to ask you, we're going to jump right to the heart of the matter here. What is your position on vaccines? And then I want to get into the nitty gritty, just broad strokes, top line, because this is the most and can you then from that point start breaking down COVID shots versus things on the schedule or that are currently on the schedule and so on? So just vaccines, broad strokes. Yeah. What's your take on it?
Prior to the pandemic, I was your, mainstream, cooperative, compliant doctor. All my kids got all their shots. I remember being upset because my pediatrician couldn't see one of my kids to get his 3-month shots on time. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to be delayed. And I mean, no questions at all about the vaccines, which really makes me mad now that I was not a very critical thinker. So, COVID, I saw things, I saw the dark side of vaccinations. And now I would definitely do things differently. I did have a position prior to COVID that, okay, if you're sick, you shouldn't get any vaccines because it's just an overload on your immune system.
Of course, right.
Other than that, I really didn't have any concerns. But now, I basically have been reading up on everything and realized that none of them have gone through the same safety standards that traditional pharmaceutical products go through. So they don't go through these placebo-controlled trials. And they don't go through trials where they're, you give 4 antigens or 5 antigens in one day, and what happens then? So I've done a 180 on them at this point. And my kids are older now, but if they were younger, I would be very nervous about giving them these shots. I'm not saying that they're all horrible, and I haven't seen the immediate side effects. I do think there's a link with the autism, but I haven't, like with the COVID shots, I'm seeing like immediate. And I'm not a pediatrician, so I know there are moms who have seen this immediate shutdown of their kids after their routine immunizations. But in terms of where it's a little gray, but with the COVID shots, I'm seeing people that were just like adults, primarily some teenagers, perfectly healthy, and then bam, just completely lives destroyed.
Yep.
I've never seen anything like this with any other product on the market. And I've, in my career, I have seen products come and go. I've seen some antibiotics and pain medications that were, safe and effective. And then all of a sudden they're pulled off the market. But even with those, I didn't see what I'm seeing with these COVID shots. And I see it every day. I saw 2 patients today, 4 or 5 years later. It's astounding to me that these things are still being given to people. For example, here's a classic patient I saw, I think it was last week. She's 50 years old, teacher, marathon runner, gets 2 shots, had some severe swelling under her arm after the second shot. Now her right arm will not stop shaking 4 years later. And she's gone to numerous doctors, and the doctors will not even entertain the possibility that it could have anything to do with the COVID shot. So, she's going around doctor, and everybody's like, oh, there's nothing, we don't know why this has happened. We're baffled. It's that sort of thing, especially with when people are shaking and they're just sitting right in front of you, and they were perfectly healthy, and then they get these shots, and you're like, well, yeah. And it's bad because we don't have good tests. So these people, they'll get an MRI, they'll get a bunch of blood work, everything will look normal. And for some reason, medicine has moved to this, you have to have a test to confirm the diagnosis. Like there's so much emphasis on testing, and there's much less emphasis on the history and physical exam. And there's this weird mindset now where you can't prescribe anything unless you got the test to confirm it. And unfortunately, with these vaccine injured patients, the only tests that I have found have been consistently helpful is looking at their spike protein antibody levels. Wow. It's a little bit muddy because we don't have a great way to measure actual spike protein in the blood. So we have to look at antibody levels. And, your antibodies are going to go up with infection, and they're going to go up with the shots. That's normal, and you expect that. But I'm seeing just this dramatic difference. So in patients that got the COVID shots, and I actually intend on going this weekend and updating my information because it's been a couple of months, but patients who got the shots, on average, their spike protein antibody level is 13,000. In patients that did not get the shots, their spike protein antibody level is 1,300. So it's 10 times greater. And this is 4 years after the shot. So these antibody levels would come down after time. The concern is that because the way these products were designed, they're designed so your body produces the spike protein. That's how they're designed. Right. So we could be seeing this unlimited production of spike protein. The other concern is that once the spike protein is made, that it can't be broken down because it has something called pseudouridine, which is a sort of a stabilizer. So it's not it's to keep it from being broken down to generate more of a heartier immune response. The problem is we don't have a single study showing that the body's capable of breaking down pseudouridine. So we honestly we need more research, and that's another huge frustration of mine, because so much of this is just trial and error, and talking to other doctors who are like-minded, but there's so few of us out there. We really need the NIH to step up, and I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. In terms of efficacy, I think the biggest marker for me, the biggest tell for me, is that the first hospital in the country to mandate these shots, and that was Houston Methodist, where I had privileges, and they did it April 1st, 2021. They did it 5 months before Biden. They really paved the way for the rest of the country. And so they came after me because I challenged that. But they never shared their efficacy data, right? So they're sitting on, they have 30, 40,000 employees. They never shared, okay, how many of these of our employees didn't get sick, didn't stay in the hospital, or look at their hospitalized patients. Why didn't they share that information? And, I was doing testing as well. And so I was tracking patients, vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And so the patients that came in, what I found is that the unvaccinated outnumbered the vaccinated and were just as sick, if not sicker. And I actually went to Methodist because I had a good relationship with them initially. We were doing research together. And I said, hey, what's going on? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? And they said, well, we just think it lowers the severity of the disease. And yet they never shared their data. So why not? It's like, why won't Neil Stone come on the podcast?
That's the huge tell. That is it. I ended up interviewing a woman who was injured. I think it wasn't actually the mRNA vaccine. Her name was Brianne Drezen. She was injured during a trial. They were doing a study on her and other people who were vaccine injured at the NIH as they're rolling out the shots. Nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. And yet you have people who've been injured. You don't understand why. You don't know what's going on with it. You don't have any answers. You're telling them you don't know. You're trying to figure it out as you're burying that quietly and rolling these things out. And then it's like, well, why can't we talk about ivermectin? Aren't doctors able to use these things off-label? It's not, whatever the triple signature opioid situation. I don't get it. And the minute you talk about that, you're demonized. I got kicked off of TikTok for a freaking reel with a doctor talking about ivermectin and its safety profile. And it's like, well, because Dr. Phil told me, actually, when I asked him about this, he goes, well, if you have a therapeutic that works, you can't push the vaccine through emergency use loopholes. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Doc, why though? So let's put our tin hats on here for just a second. Surely the companies that make medications have enough money. Like, why do we need to, and we're still, why? Like, is it really that profitable? I don't get it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, there's vaccines. And they have
this one freaking vaccine of all the drugs you've got, of all the medications.
The entire world got it. Yes.
Okay.
And they mandated it. I mean, what a great market. I mean, of our company, I mean, that's bonanza, right? And they have no liability. But yeah, and I want to talk about why they targeted ivermectin beyond just the, making room for, beyond that. I want to go a little deeper on that, if you'll let me, because
I don't know more than that. Go.
Okay. So it was very orchestrated. They went after ivermectin. They smeared it in the press, and I actually sued over that and won. And it all started in the spring of 2021. The government was upset because people were not buying it. They were not going to rush in and get these shots. So in March, only 10% of Americans had gotten the shots. So they started to discredit ivermectin. The CDC or the FDA put out information on their websites basically saying why you should not take ivermectin for COVID. And then on April 1st, this is the day that Methodists mandated the shots. Biden launched something called the COVID-19 Community Corps. He invested $11.5 billion of taxpayer money into propaganda. So this went out to influencers, sports teams, church groups, you name it. And it started off with a small group, and it webbed out to, I think it was something like 17,000 groups or something.
Oh my gosh.
Billions of dollars to tell everybody that it was safe and effective, the COVID shots. So then, you might remember the third and the largest surge of the pandemic was late summer, early fall of 2021. And in late August, the FDA put out the horse tweet. So it was the attractive healthcare worker nuzzling the horse. And it says, seriously, y'all, you're not a horse. You're not a cow. Stop it. So that tweet went viral. Yeah. And it really did some damage. I mean, it made it very hard for me to prescribe ivermectin. It created this sort of black market of ivermectin. Like, you could not send it to CVS or Walgreens. Mm-hmm. You had to find special pharmacies that were willing to prescribe, willing to dispense it. It resulted in the medical boards coming after us. I mean, this whole medical board issue that I've been dealing with, they claim it has nothing to do with ivermectin, but it has everything to do with ivermectin. And medical boards across the country started going after doctors. And so this is late August. And then early September, Biden mandated the COVID shots and took away monoclonal antibodies. So it was all very orchestrated, the way they went after ivermectin. And we actually sued the FDA over that horse tweet. And we won, which is, it's very hard to sue the government and win. And they had to take down the horse tweet, and they had to take down the misinformation on their website.
That's unbelievable. I want to just validate you from an anecdotal place. Not that you need validation, but I have so many friends that got the shot and have spoken about how their autoimmune conditions were exacerbated across the board. Yeah. And people are not, they're like, I don't know. It was like a tiny little patch of psoriasis that's now like from here all the way down to my knee. Or it could be a random skin condition. It could be Crohn's. It could be arthritis. But across the board, people who had autoimmune conditions tell me, I don't want to sound crazy, but after I got the shot, and, I got it. I'm not trying to get pregnant, so I can't. We're way past that, even if I change my mind. But so many people I know wonder if it's impacted their fertility. But infertility has been on the rise for a long time. Like, there's no way to nail it down. So if I was to try to play devil's advocate here and say, well, Dr. Bowden, autoimmune conditions have been on the rise for decades. These injuries that you speak of, you can't nail it down. You're making this stuff up, but the data doesn't show it. I can only imagine this is what you're the people who would contradict you would say. So I'm trying to say it. What does one say to that then? If I'm going to critique you with, you've made this up, that's not what the data says. We have very few injuries. They would have, here's another one. Sorry. And they would have gotten these injuries worse if they had gotten COVID. I remember that one.
Yeah. I mean, we have an enormous amount of data. We just don't have anybody in power who's willing to acknowledge it. And we have not only published peer-reviewed studies, so they're over, I think at this point, they're probably 3,600 published peer-reviewed studies showing adverse reactions to these shots. One of the big tells is the disability data. So in the third quarter of 2021, so this is about 8-9 months following the rollout of the COVID shots, the people in the healthiest sector of our country, the working class, the 18 to, I think it's 55-year-olds, disabilities went up 40%, which is shocking. It was, there's all sorts of, it's like worse than World War II or something.
Oh my gosh.
We have autopsy data. We have.
Is that real? By the way, Doc, forgive me. I'll pause on that one. We've all heard, they're pulling out blood clots that are 2 feet long. I mean,
The thing is,
Fable?
there's no upside to coming out with this information and going public with it, as I can attest to. And there's a reason so few are doing it. So I believe them. I mean, they've got visuals. I don't know what else it could be.
I've seen it. I've
never embalmed somebody, but there's just no upside to coming out with all this stuff. It's just you're subjecting yourself to a lot of heat. So I just have to believe the people that are coming out.
Okay, so autopsy data, and keep going. Sorry, I interrupted you, but we were talking about disabilities. We were talking about
disability. There's life insurance data. There's data looking at the people dropping dead on the athletes that are dropping dead.
Myocarditis.
Myocarditis. And one other point I want to make about the myocarditis is, so myocarditis is sort of a difficult diagnosis to make. The only way you can definitively make it is by doing a cardiac MRI, which very few people order or do, or doing a cardiac biopsy. So it's primarily by symptoms. And, there may be some other, there may be some markers on blood work and that sort of thing, but not always. So what I'm concerned about is these babies getting these shots, because the CDC actually does acknowledge that there's an increased risk of myocarditis in boys from age 12 to 17. They acknowledge that in writing. But have they even studied the babies? Because the babies can't tell you they have chest pain. And unless you are doing cardiac MRIs or cardiac biopsies on them, you have no idea if they're getting myocarditis. And if they get myocarditis, it can leave a scar on the heart, which then leads to a lifelong increased risk of sudden cardiac death.
Oh my gosh.
That has not been looked at.
Right. So, okay. Now, I know you've become more critical of Kennedy and you feel like he's not doing enough. I want to get into that, but he did remove it, the shot, COVID shot, from the CDC's childhood schedule. Now, from my perspective, I see him remove it. And I see all of the liberal media go after him and claim that he's taken away. You promised you wouldn't take away our vaccines. And he's like, I didn't take away your vaccine. I just didn't mandate it. But you've made it harder for us to get. By the way, you drive into the freaking CVS to go get some toothpaste, and there's a big sign, get your COVID shot, get your flu shot here. I'm like, it doesn't seem difficult to get. I don't know. Is it just my CVS that seems to have it readily available for anybody that wants to get it? Oh my God, you're putting people at risk, you dangerous, dangerous man. And it's all a lie. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm like, number one, you could still get it if you wanted. It's contraindicated for kids. It's just not mandated, so they don't have to get it to go to school. To me, I'm like, oh, this bastard is taking it on the chin. Holy cow, this poor son of a gun. And to you're like, he's been neutered. Tell me what I'm not seeing. I saw that. You're like, who neutered Kennedy? I was like, geez, what do I miss? Channel the fresh start energy of the new year and finally launch your business. 2026 is the year you rewrite your story, you own your future, and you make your entrepreneurial dreams come true. Start your business with Shopify in 2026 and become who you're meant to be. My wife actually just started a Shopify account for her clothing company because Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online and in person. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap, from household names to first-time business owners just getting started. Shopify gives you all the tools to easily build your dream store. You can choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize to match your brand. Setup is fast with Shopify's built-in AI tools, the right product descriptions and headlines, and to help you edit product photos. Marketing is built in as well. You can create email and social media campaigns that reach customers wherever they scroll. And as you grow, Shopify grows with you. Handle more orders and expand to new markets, and do it all from the same dashboard. So in 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Jillian. Just go to shopify.com/Jillian. That's shopify.com/Jillian. And hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side. When it comes to holiday gifting, I want to give people things that they'll really love. I want them beautiful, timeless. I want pieces they'll wear for years, and that's why I go with Quince. From Mongolian cashmere sweaters to Italian wool coats,
everything is premium quality and at a price that actually makes sense. Quince has something for everyone. I mean, I just mentioned those soft Mongolian cashmere sweaters for $50 only that look and feel like designer pieces. They've got silk tops and skirts for dressing up, perfectly cut denim for dressing down, and outerwear that actually keeps you warm but looks amazing. As mentioned, those Italian wool coats, they're standout pieces. They're beautifully tailored, soft to the touch, and they're crafted to last for seasons. And that's because every piece is made with premium materials from ethical, trusted factories, priced far below what other luxury brands charge. And here's why. Because they cut out the middleman and they pass on that savings to you. And the craftsmanship shows in every detail. Stitching, the fit, the drape, it's elevated and it's made to wear on repeat. All of my pieces from Quince, I've worn season after season after season, including this awesome sweater I'm wearing right now. Find gifts so good, you're going to want to keep them with Quince. Just go to quince.com/Jillian for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Jillian to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jillian.
It makes my stomach turn to think of anybody getting these shots, but much less a child.
Oh, I get it.
I mean, what's the upside? What are we saving them from? I mean, a cold. COVID has evolved into a cold. There is no upside to putting them at risk. And like I see it every day. I see these people whose lives have been destroyed every day. I've never seen anything like it in my entire career. There's no upside for me to come out and say all this.
I'm 65. I'm 65 years old. I've got an autoimmune condition. I've got fibromyalgia. I'm immune compromised. I need it.
No, you can treat it. Early treatment.
Doc, I've had this fight with doctors for members of my family.
I'm sure you have.
And
They've been brainwashed.
They convince the older members of my family, one with Parkinson's, one with fibromyalgia. They're older. This is the population. You could be putting, you're a trainer. You could be, you really want to, take this risk. And I'm like, it's not that I'm a trainer. I've interviewed doctors who've explained the concerns about this shot, but they scare the heck out of the members of my family. And by the way, I've seen, oh my God, it's SIBO. One of them got SIBO, had perfect gastrointestinal health, severe reoccurring SIBO. And you know who told me that was going to happen? Dr. Hazen, who's a gastroenterologist. But can't prove it. I can't prove it. And the last time that this member of my family took antibiotics was like 5 years ago from a cat bite. I'm like, we can't say like, we've been using antibiotics prophylactically, overprescribed. Nope, can't have that conversation. But that's the argument, is the older group. That's what they tell me, and you see no benefit to that. What would you do if you got some 75-year-old with Parkinson's who caught COVID? I don't know, turned into pneumonia. And now look what we've done. We've killed her.
Pneumonia is a disease of neglect, of not getting early treatment. I learned this very quickly. So I treated over 6,000 COVID patients. I've never treated any disease with that amount of intensity in my career. I mean, it's all I saw for many years. So you quickly become an expert. And pneumonia comes from not treating early. So that is a huge problem we have in our medical system, because there's this fear of overprescribing antibiotics. And we saw this, and that led to the primary care doctors all saying, well, it's a virus, COVID, let it run its course. And then if you can't breathe, go to the emergency room. Well, that was a huge mistake. And there's also this dogma that you cannot do anything for a virus. So, for the elderly, what I say is, come go see your doctor early and you get early treatment. If it's a viral infection, I put people on Ivermectin. If I have to risk overprescribing antibiotics to prevent my elderly patient from getting pneumonia, so be it. It's a risk benefit. There's an art to it. The patient who has diabetes, you're gonna be more aggressive about antibiotics than you would with somebody with no risk factors other than their age. Things like that. But the vaccine is the last thing they need. Believe me.
But they don't lean on these therapeutics at all. I'm like, well, what's the point of having them then? It's very strange. So you've got me on this one. I can't even push back. I've heard it. We've all heard it. I think people realize at this point, COVID is not a nefarious pathogen that's going to wipe out kind of anybody. We're not really hearing about anybody dying of COVID. And now that we have therapeutics, we understand it better. Like, okay, great. Let's table that one. Generally, vaccines. This one is such a complicated, nuanced conversation. Where do you stand on this? I'll just say I'm middle of the road. And the only reason I'm middle of the road is because from a common sense perspective, I don't understand why you give a newborn a hepatitis B vaccine. And I understand the huge financial incentive behind it. And I also know you can test the mom for hepatitis B, and child's not going to engage in risky sex or intravenous drug use to get hepatitis B outside of mom. So why are we doing that? And I know that, the pharmaceutical companies lobby the World Health Organization to put it, to mandate it for kids around the world. Like, I get it. I get the incentive, and it's nefarious. I don't understand why we would ever want children to get hepatitis B, which is a question I actually asked Dr. Stone. I'm like, why? Just tell me. Why hepatitis B? I don't get it. Now, I've had whooping cough. And Doc, I've famously, oh my gosh, I've never been sicker. When I tell you I've never been sicker, I don't like to take I don't like to take a Tylenol. I don't like to take an Advil. I don't like it. I took every drug that my doctor gave me, and I mean, she gave me, holy mother of God, 2 rounds of a Z-Pack, intravenous antibiotics because it wouldn't go away, all kinds of anti-inflammatories, allergy medicine. It was hell. So now I think, okay, if a baby...
Hold on. Did she give you steroids early on? Early on?
No, Doc, it's my fault. I thought it was just, it started out not so bad. And I thought I beat it. It was like a low-grade fever. And then I was traveling, and then by week 2.5, my wife is like, we are going to the hospital. And I wasn't in LA, and I had kept my doctors in Los Angeles because they're great. And I ended up, calling my doctor in Los Angeles on Sunday at like 5 a.m. and I was like, I think I need to go to the hospital. I think I'm dying. And and she just, she hit me with the horns. But no, it's my fault because I was like, I got this. I'll take my fucking, I'll take my vitamin C and my zinc and my this and my that. And this is where I thought, God is trying to teach me a lesson here about,
I got pneumonia.
But see,
I had pneumonia, sepsis after getting the flu shot. So
okay,
I don't know. You can say that, getting that pertussis shot would have prevented your illness. And there may have been other things going on that I don't know.
So tell me, Doc, hit me with the what am I not seeing? Because to me, I'm thinking if a newborn gets this, it's a serious problem, no? Because I thought for sure this would kill me if I didn't have all of these medicines.
If you treat pertussis early, it responds very well to a Z-Pack. That's my argument.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's your fault for delaying treatment.
You're not wrong. Okay. Okay. That's fair. I did delay treatment. You're 100% right. I did. But I was thinking I don't want to take antibiotics. So I guess I wasn't properly gauging the DEFCON levels of cost benefit analysis with different medications. So unilaterally, do you think vaccines save lives? I would say, well, sure. I mean, look at polio, look at measles. You're giving me that look. Okay. So what do I not?
I'll just say, and this is something Dr. Drew taught me. I'm just going to say I am unconvinced. I need more information to say that. And I definitely am. I mean, if it were my own kids, I would stop it all. I would wait until we had proper information and remove the liability protection, because if they're all as safe and effective as they claim to be, then they should be fine, standing in a court of law if things go wrong.
Okay. 100% see your point there. Let's talk about Florida removing all vax mandates. I'm a parent
I
in
love
Florida. I'm a liberal. And for some reason, liberals lean into this a little harder, which is weird. Like, because we used to be liberals. We're like the crunchy granola people who drank raw milk, and now it's Republicans. I can't wrap my head around how this became political at all. But nevertheless, I'm outraged. Kids are coming to my school with measles, and they're giving my kids measles. And these insane Luddite Republicans have facilitated this. And to a certain extent, yeah, I mean, some of this stuff's pretty nefarious. Tetanus, I mean, it's not contagious, but, what kind of parent, as a parent, are you being irresponsible if you don't protect your child from tetanus, from... I know that measles is not that dangerous.
Well, if you get tetanus, you can still get a tetanus shot after the exposure, by the way.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So now, I don't know I got tetanus. My kid stepped on a rusty nail. He didn't tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have all the answers on all these vaccines, but I do believe that the government or a third party shouldn't force somebody to have something injected in their body or in their kid's body. And if the vaccines are effective, then it shouldn't matter if somebody else comes to school with the disease. If you are vaccinated, then you're protected.
Okay. Ready for the argument on that one? The argument on that one is my child has a condition where they can't get vaccinated. So you are essentially responsible as a good, upstanding member of society. I mean, this is the argument, Doc. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times. Because I thought that. I had that conversation, actually. I was like, well, I don't understand why you're so alarmed. If you could get the COVID vaccine or you could get the MMR vaccine, then you should be fine. Well, if the child's immune compromised, they can't get the vaccine, and now you've put their life at risk.
Well, if the child's immune compromised, they're going to be susceptible to all sorts of things that vaccines don't cover. So perhaps that's not the right environment for them.
That's fair. Are there any in particular you would do blindly? Or it's not blindly, but like you'd say, no, this one is a hell yeah, I gotta get it. Do you look at them? No.
No.
Jeez, Doc. Is this
not
because...
I got to be more convinced.
Okay. So then let me narrow it down again one more time here. Is it because there's not enough data? Because you've seen data that scares you?
Well, I'll put a plug in for I don't know if you watched that documentary that just came out, An Inconvenient Study.
Is that where it was?
It's a Henry Ford Hospital. And all sorts of alarming data showing much higher risk of asthma and other medical problems, autoimmune problems, ADHD, in the kids that got vaccinated. So, I mean, that's disturbing. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the diseases you can treat with antibiotics, early treatment. And I just think I just don't trust the system at all anymore.
Yeah.
After what happened during COVID, I just don't trust them.
So what's so unfortunate is that no one trusts anything anymore. Everything is up for grabs now. You can't hold on to anything, whether it's like somebody was assassinated by a guy that seemingly is a member of Antifa, who is seemingly in love with a person who's trans, and seemingly is on the fringe of society and is a furry. I mean, it seems like, yeah, that guy would probably want to take out Charlie Kirk. Instead, it's like, no, there's an underground bunker. No, there's the microphone exploded. No, Israel did it. And and it's like, you can't, no, his wife is a honeypot plant from a foreign nefarious government. It's just, and the thing is, like, I'm not comparing these two things at all. I understand everything you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is it just unfortunately opens up this, just nobody knows what to believe and what to trust. And I would say, all right, you've gone to medical school. So you, of all people, should be able to disseminate fact from fiction. And if you're telling me you don't know what to trust, that's kind of alarming. So what does the average person do now, right? Like you're saying like, hey guys, we can treat these conditions with therapeutics once they occur?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I think, the nice thing about our system now versus what was going on 20 years ago is people have access to so much more information. I mean, 20 years ago, you really had to trust your doctor. We didn't have the internet, right? And yeah, the internet can lead you down the wrong road, the wrong path. But it's certainly helpful. And then getting multiple opinions I strongly advise that. And I think how doctors behave during COVID is a litmus test. They don't have to be out there like me, but if you walk in their office and they want you to put on a mask and they're telling you need to get all these shots and they don't allow you to ask any questions, and find another doctor. So yeah, there's not it's a little bit muddy with the vaccines, but after what they did to us with these COVID shots, I just can't recommend any vaccines at this point. I mean, there's no recourse if something happens, and this is going on with these COVID shots. There's supposed to be a government fund to help these people if they get injured. There is an assumption with vaccines that there will be some injuries. But the CICP, which is the COVID fund, they have only reimbursed 41 people, and there have been about 14,000 people that have applied. So people are not getting help. So if something happens to you, whether it's with the COVID shot or one of these other vaccines, you're basically out of luck.
Okay. Doc, you mentioned that you think there is potentially a link to autism. Here we go. I'm going to be devil's advocate. I actually have no idea. And that's my answer is I have no idea. I don't think we have an idea. That's what I've sort of taken away. The contrarian position, this is settled science. I think I know why it's not, because I've interviewed several experts on the subject matter, but just in case I missed it, can you tell people, why do you think it's not settled science?
Well, I'll have the disclaimer that I am far from an expert in this area. And I did recently interview Toby Rogers. If you haven't interviewed him, he's wonderful. He has really devoted much of his career to studying the link. But the studies that have been done looking at autism have not controlled for vaccination status, which makes it all very muddy. And so I think that's sort of my strongest indication is that all these studies that say, oh, it's genetics or, Tylenol or, the Tylenol studies don't control for vaccination status. And I don't know that, it's probably multifactorial. It's probably not all vaccines. I certainly don't think it's all Tylenol. But there's a huge problem, and we don't really have, I don't think it's genetic. There's no way it could be genetic in the time frame that has exploded. That just doesn't make sense from a genetic perspective.
So, I can say that with obesity. People are like, well, it's a genetic predisposition. I'm like, well, it's a quantum leap for genetics because in the 70s, 5% of the population was obese or overweight, and now it's 74 of the adult population in America. So, my God, that's just insane. Do you think we'll be flying in another 50 years? Like, we'll grow wings? Like, and in fact, I believe there was a study at UC Davis at the Mind Institute that said genetics loads, well, they didn't say that. Obviously, doctors say genetics load the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. And they said that the explosion in rates just can't be genetic. And I've heard differing numbers from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 31, 1 in 5,000 to 1 in 31, 1 in 2,000. Even if we said 1 in 1,000 nowadays to 1 in 31, better diagnosis. You can't account for that kind of staggering increase. Right. And I wonder about, Kennedy says something happened in the 80s, the mid 80s. We saw this. We don't know. We got to nail it down. Do you have any idea? Have you interviewed anyone that thinks they know what that is? I've heard him talk about that there's something that flipped the switch, environmentally speaking, that made this skyrocket.
In the 80s?
He said he said something about in the 80s. And I wasn't sure if it had to do with thimerosal, because then there's the study that was a huge study. I'm trying to remember which one. There are two that people say it's settled science, and they refer to one that's on MMR, and it's really broad. And there's another on thimerosal, and they're like, no, which for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about is added, or was previously added to vaccines, and I think it's like 50% mercury by weight. And there was concern about that, and no, there's a big study that debunks that. So I don't know if that's what he was referring to, or if it was the schedule maybe getting more aggressive because of immunity, and that's what he was referring to. But what's interesting is that they will basically just put out there that it's settled science. And I have seen so many people do that. And
and Peter Hotez won't debate anybody either.
Right.
So that's another tell.
Yeah, exactly. I have a friend who's exceptionally intelligent that I'm not going to put on blast, but I saw her on her show taking Kennedy to pieces. And I was like, hey, dude, I think you're brilliant, and so many things you educate me on. Could I kind of enlighten you on why this isn't settled science? Nope, won't have the conversation, which is really alarming. Is that they just don't want to know about it, which I find even stranger. In your field, outside of vaccines and this medical industrial complex that punishes doctors for being honest and authentic and essentially profits off making patients sick, what are some other things that deeply alarm you that you'd like to see changed?
Well, the nonprofit hospitals are really milking it for all it's worth. They're part of the reason that our healthcare expenses are so enormous. So you have a hospital like Houston Methodist Hospital that has over $13 billion in assets. They sponsor the Houston Astros. They sponsor the Houston Ballet. Not a day goes by that I'm not assaulted by their brand. So there's all this money going into their marketing. It's questionable how much indigent care do they really take care of, because people on the inside say there aren't that many poor people running around that hospital. And yet, they get they don't pay any property taxes. And if you follow Texas politics, that's a huge thing for Texas. We don't have an income tax in Texas. So they get us with our property taxes, and our property taxes are just insane. So Houston Methodist and other nonprofit hospitals, Houston has the largest medical center in the entire world. So we were like the heart of the medical mafia is what I call it. Wow. But they don't pay property taxes. And, why is healthcare it's so outrageous? Even if you have insurance, it's outrageous. I just think that's a huge issue that people aren't really paying attention to. The hospitals really behaved poorly during the pandemic. They treated people like prisoners. They let people die alone. They subjected people to these very rigid protocols. My fight with the medical board is over a patient that was just he was on hospice and wanted to try Ivermectin, which is now over the counter in Texas, or will be in 2 months. It would pass, the law passed. But the hospitals were just so rigid and, not looking out for the best interest of the patient.
Do you think there should be a Nuremberg style trial for people that perpetrated this?
Yeah, but I don't think it will happen. I mean, you look at it was so hard to hold people accountable for the Holocaust. So I just think you see,
Fair.
Trump with Borla in the Oval Office. I think they're, not during this term. We will not see accountability. Now there's two big lawsuits that give me hope. And the first one is Brooke Jackson, who is a whistleblower. She was a research manager. She was overseeing the research at Pfizer at one of their labs. And she noticed all these issues going on, like they were unblinding the patients. They weren't following the protocols that were set out for the research. And when she reported it, she got fired. And so she is suing Pfizer, and it is it's a RICO case, a fraud case. And if it's successful, it could be huge. I mean, it could take down Pfizer. But the problem is Pam Bondi is blocking it, is trying to get the case dismissed. Normally, the government works with the whistleblower against the evil company. But in this situation, the government is assisting Pfizer. It's super unfortunate, but it's hanging on by a thread. If that goes through, that could be huge. There's also another case, and people need to know this. It's important. If you think you were injured by these shots, and it doesn't have to be definite, but if you have, strong suspicion and you report it to the doctor that gave you the shot, they are legally obligated to report that injury to VAERS. VAERS is a vaccine adverse event reporting system. And if they don't, you can sue them. And you have until probably 2029 to do this. So there's plenty of time to get this going. Wow. There's a big case in the works. Deb Conrad was a physician assistant at Rochester Hospital. She was reporting injuries to VAERS, and she got fired for reporting too many. And she is suing. But that is a big case. It's made it past the motion to dismiss. It's in discovery. And so if that sets a good precedent, then people can, open the floodgates. This could go all over the country, any hospital. You could, because this is what I'm seeing too. None of my patients that have come to see me, most of the time they've seen multiple other doctors, and no one has reported them to VAERS. I'm the one that's reporting them to VAERS, and they get gaslit. They're told, it's all in your head, and they get put on psychiatric medication and all sorts of things. But the people that gave out the shots are legally obligated to report any suspicion. It doesn't have to be definite, but if there's suspicion, they're obligated to report it. So that's a huge avenue for people to get some accountability.
Do you regret taking action? Sometimes I ask myself that. I'm like, should I just shut the fuck up? Honestly, should I just be on the cover of Novo Nordisk's Ozempic page, because one of the former Biggest Loser trainers is? Should I have, should I be like, yeah, dude, man, dudes in chick sports, 100% fair. Yeah, awesome. Should I have, I wonder about it. Should I be like, yeah, all white people are racist, mea culpa. I think, why? Because you the suffering that you go through, and you have experienced that on an exponential level. Deep down, you lay in bed at night and think, fuck it. I wish I hadn't have done it.
Well, I don't feel like I chose it. It kind of happened to me. I was speaking out on social media, but at the time, I had 2 likes on a tweet. It wasn't like I had the following I have now. I wasn't, going up to CNN and making an announcement. I was just on Twitter, or I was Twitter back then. And, I would say, and I sent emails to my patients that got back to Houston Methodist. So, what happened was I got a text message from a reporter of the Houston Chronicle saying, can you confirm, is it true that your privileges have been suspended from Houston Methodist for spreading dangerous misinformation? Wow. And I did a double take. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So they went straight to the press. And then I go, the next thing I know, it's CNN and the Washington Post and and NBC are all reporting about me. I mean, it was surreal. I mean, I was like a soccer mom 2 years before that.
They made you a
um,
martyr.
so, but it made me so angry. So,
Yeah.
and I'm still so angry. So that's what kind of fuels me. And I just want to prove them all wrong.
Well, I think it's working. I was really hoping to try to have somebody say, no, Dr. Bowden, because people love to smear you with that brush. Anti-vaxxer. I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I don't have enough knowledge to be an anti-vaxxer. All I'm telling you is it's definitely not settled science. That I can say with confidence. But it's fascinating the way they try to smear you like you're some sort of kook, crazy lunatic. And yet, look how powerful you've become. Look how your message has resonated. You have become an unlikely hero, and I know what that feels like, and not being an unlikely hero, but being crucified for trying to sound the alarm. And you have taken it, my God, 10 times worse than I ever have, and I am grateful for your sacrifices. I'm a regular person. I'm watching this. I'm feeling a bit dystopian. So you spoke a little bit about the clinic you set up. How do I care for myself at this point? Like, how do I practice prevention? If I can't, I can't trust. I don't know how to, like, oh, do I take that medication? Is it safe? Like, how do I move forward with my family? Like, what advice do you have for the person watching that's just like, if I can't trust this, what can I trust?
Yeah. Yes, it's hard. I mean, number one is, there's so many things you can do to take care of your health, as you can attest to. Managing your weight is probably, I think, number one.
Yeah.
Keeping your weight under control and keeping your blood sugar down, getting enough exercise to alleviate stress, and you sleep better. If you sleep better, your immune system is better. I'm not a huge, take every vitamin kind of person. I'm a simpleton with that. I mean, I believe in good diet to
Big
supply
rocks.
most of your vitamins, but
yeah.
Vitamin D is the most, like, it's pretty important. And I will say, like, when I test people, their vitamin D that's sort of, I think it's probably the most common lab abnormality I find is low vitamin D. So if you're going to supplement, that's usually where I tell people to focus on. But basics, weight is not, as you said, obesity is probably our number one health problem. If people can manage their weight, a lot of things will follow with their health. And then, there are doctors out there you can trust. COVID is a litmus test. There's some websites you can go to. Independent Medical Alliance has a list of like-minded doctors. There is the Simone Gold has a network of physicians, Gold Care Alliance. And then, go to the doctor for emergencies. Doctors are good with emergencies, but maybe stay away for other situations.
Gosh, okay. So you're saying focus on prevention. Find a doctor that you can trust who listens to you and doesn't blindly follow the dogma. That makes great sense. Are you taking patients at all? Are you allowed to see people outside of Texas? Can people find you?
Yeah, I only see new patients in person. I really don't like telemedicine, but I'll do it in a pinch. I just think you just get a better sense of things seeing people in person. And I'm in Houston, and I'm primarily ear, nose, and throat. I do allergy, sleep medicine, but on top of that, I do COVID, either long COVID or COVID shot injuries. So,
and there's treatment for that. Like, if you have long COVID and shot injuries, there's a way to treat that stuff.
Well, I get the best response from Ivermectin.
Wow. Okay.
My test, and again, we don't have great markers on blood work and that sort of, or imaging. But the thing that gave me the most confidence in treating long COVID or COVID shot injuries with ivermectin were a couple patients that just had these horrible rashes that came on after the shots, previously healthy. They'd been on antihistamines, they've been on steroids, and they'd been on biologics, and nothing worked. And the only thing that worked for them was ivermectin. So that kind of gave me the confidence to keep using ivermectin for patient. Basically, it blocks the spike protein from entering the cell, and it has 20 mechanisms of action. It's very anti-inflammatory.
Wow.
So it tends to, and I use it for all viruses now. Like it's not just specific to COVID. It blocks viruses from entering the cell.
When I got whooping cough, I got that one too. I got hit with ivermectin as well.
Oh,
I was like, okay, yeah, done. What am I taking? Heroin? Sure, yes. No, like it was at that point because I'd been so irresponsible. I'm just out from my own curiosity and friends of mine who are suffering. Are you using ivermectin consistently, or is it like a therapeutic dose? Once, twice, I don't know, 3 days, 5 days, however or is it something that you're microdosing over time? I'm just my own selfish curiosity.
No, so there's a protocol on, it used to be FLCCC and now it's Independent Medical Alliance. So that's a great resource.
Got
if
it.
you have long COVID or if you have an injury, they have sort of dosing protocols. I don't adhere to it, rigidly, but I generally start out with zero point 0.2 milligrams per kilogram per day with food. And I say, as long as you don't have any side effects, keep at it for at least a month.
Wow.
It's not like a lot of people, they don't just get an instant response. But I've gone way up on that dose too. And people that have some more severe problems and had some success when you go up on that dose. It's hard to overdose on ivermectin. Now you can, so don't go crazy.
Of course.
See
your doctor, really but know what to ask them. That's of course, don't go treating yourself. don't go treating yourself with ivermectin. But my goal is that they would be like, hey, I saw this podcast. What do you think about this? Here's the resource, to try to empower people to have these conversations with their medical professional. Because I have friends who have not a rash, but if, for example, I'll probably cut this out of the show because just selfishly, because it's boring. But my wife developed something called anatoderma, which is this bizarre autoimmune condition. And I think it was there kind of latently. And she thought she had rosacea always. So she thought that she had gotten it from Accutane, which cured up the rosacea 100%. It was crazy. But then she developed this condition and the dermatologist had no idea what it was. She thought it was Accutane. And now we're like, holy shit, I wonder if it was the COVID shot, because there was an absolute intersection of that shot. And so, and I, as mentioned, I have a lot of friends who suffer with, so it's fascinating. Doc, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't?
Yeah, I'm not, I feel like we covered everything. It's kind of exhausting. No,
I know, I'm sorry. I know. But just in case, is there any stone I left unturned?
Oh, yeah. How about this? So, politicians. So I started a nonprofit called Americans for Health Freedom. And basically to try to encourage politicians to state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And I think I have about 240 politicians on this list. We have Thomas Massey on there, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We have Senator Ron Johnson. We have the Florida Surgeon General, Joe Ladapo. But we also have a lot of state representatives and senators. We have precinct chairs. We have school board members. But it's basically the premise of courage is contagious. And I want to add, all the politicians out there who are no longer giving themselves these shots, no longer giving them to their children because you have safety concerns, but you're staying silent. Your job is to protect your constituents, and I urge you to speak up, because if these shots are not safe enough for you, if they're not safe enough for your children or your grandchildren, then they are certainly not safe enough for your constituents. So we just want people to speak up. You can go to americansforhealthfreedom.org and you can just sign the pledge and add your name to the list.
Doc, where can people go to follow you, to get more from you? Tell them everything, Dr. Bowden.
I'm active on X at MD Breathe. I have started doing a live stream on Wednesdays with Shannon Joy. We overlap, and then I do my own little show, just trying to get more information out there. And then my office website is breathemd.org.
Thank you so much for your time. You're very brave. Thank you for the sacrifices you've made. I consider me, an ally is the best of my ability. And I really respect all that you've done and all the sacrifices, Doc. Thank you.
Well, I am thrilled we connected, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.